I have always had such a fondness and love for flowers. And so much of that, those seeds were planted in the summers that I spent with my grandma. But more than the flowers themselves, just that act of service, doing that for my grandmother, knowing how much it meant to her to keep her beds lovely and spry, and really just quite literally planting those seeds of being a servant heart in me at such an early age. So that was a huge inspiration to starting Hope Blooms. But I also spent the better part of a decade working at a hospice organization and meeting with people who were, at end of life and telling their story. And so, in those tender moments when you are spending time with someone who has been told that they have 6 months or less to live, something that just left such an imprint on my heart was just the fact that the small things matter.
What if flowers could help fight loneliness? Today we're in Fargo, North Dakota for the Six Pack, and we're here with the powerhouse behind Hope Blooms, Kelly Krenzel. Hope Blooms is a nonprofit that uses bouquets of flowers to spark connection in the most beautiful and unique ways, and we are so excited to dive in today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you. Now, first, I have to say thank you for bringing your own flowers, not from Hope Blooms, but from your own garden.
Yes, yes. It's one of my favorite things to do in our few short months of summer here in Fargo, to be able to just cut some fresh blooms from my own garden and just be able to brighten someone's day that I have an engagement with or a meeting with. It's just a small way that I can say, I appreciate you and your scene.
I love that. I love that you are seen. And I have a sinking suspicion that this love of flowers probably helped with the impetus of starting your organization. So I'd love if you could just share with our supporters a little bit about Hope Blooms.
Yes, absolutely. You're very much correct on that. I have always had such a fondness and love for flowers, and so much of that, those seeds were planted in the summers that I spent with my grandma. My grandma Frida, I was very, very close to her, and I would get the opportunity to spend 6 weeks every summer with her in a very small town, rural North Dakota. And one of the things that we did together was garden. And so I was her chief weed puller. Always, right? Yeah, and I would start on one end of her yard on a Monday, and then by Friday I got to the other end, and I'd get the weekend off and start all over again. But more than the flowers themselves, just that act of service, doing that for my grandmother, knowing how much it meant to her to keep her beds lovely and spry, and really just quite literally planting those seeds of being a servant heart in me at such an early age. So definitely every summer I think of my grandma when the flowers in my own beds bloom. But more than anything, being able to bring that sense of light, that sense of care to those in our community. So that was a huge inspiration to starting Hope Blooms. But I also spent the better part of a decade working at a hospice organization and meeting with people who were, at end of life and telling their story. And so, in those tender moments when you are spending time with someone who has been told that they have 6 months or less to live, something that just left such an imprint on my heart was just the fact that the small things matter and the small things add up, and it can be so very little that we need to do to help someone feel whole, even for a moment. And that was very much impressed upon me in my time spending with working with families on hospice, being able to just share their story and hear what is it that brings you joy during this season of your life. And just a culmination of those times and the times I spent with my grandma really led to the blooming, I guess, of Hope Blooms.
I love it. I love it. So what I really love about what you do is we have a pillar here at 6 Degrees on building a sustainable living environment. And you take beautiful flowers and you repurpose them and bring them to people to kind of help spread this joy. And how long have you been doing this work? And is it something that um, was just a natural segue from growing up and spending time with your grandmother, or was it like one day you're like, I want to start this organization in this way, and you really had this clear vision for it?
Yeah. Great question. I always say I accidentally founded a nonprofit organization, which I think probably a lot of other nonprofit founders can relate to. Really, just the heart to serve my community and thinking about, the culmination of my experiences, life experiences, and just being able to want to serve our community in this like really unique and special way. I love flowers, but more than that, I love people and I love making people feel good and making them feel like they matter and that they're loved and that they're cared for. And I think it's really different when you are extending an act of kindness to somebody you don't know versus somebody you know. It's easy to do things for people we love and we care about and people that we naturally spend time with. But what does it look like if we are creating these moments of mattering for people that we don't know? People who are facing isolation, loneliness, going through a really incredibly difficult time in life. I feel like the more you exercise that kindness muscle, the bigger it becomes. It can be very vulnerable. It can be very uncomfortable. But I think, the more of us that are out there creating special moments for people who we are intentional with,
Mhm.
who we are going out of our way to help create a brighter day really matters. And I think that will spill over into our communities. So I have a very dear friend who's a florist, and I had brought this idea to her. What if we could take things that would otherwise be discarded? I am thrifting, I'm pretty sure is my love language. And so I've always loved like the hunt, the scavenge, and like the repurposing of things. Like, how could this be used? And really just applying that love to flowers. So there's a lot of waste in the floral industry. And so being able to take things that from whether it's a large event, like a company is having some sort of special event, or it could be your first charitable act as a married couple to donate your flowers to Hope Blooms. So taking these things that would be really big and being able to break them down into usable bedside bouquets. And in the course of that, being able to connect thousands of community members to the gift of flowers, to this tangible activity that's really good for your health, just spending time around flowers. And then knowing that it's going to this bigger purpose, right? We are going to bring those flowers in a surprise visit to someone who is just in a tender time in life. And it being just these special moments that you couldn't really create in any other avenue. And so, I just started accepting flowers from my my friend would tell people, "Hey, I have this. There's this really cool project in town.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with your flowers?" And I would just invite people over to my home while my baby slept at the time, and eventually we were able to get out of the basement of my home, and we have been serving our community. We just had our ninth birthday.
Amazing.
Yeah, and we've created just over 100,000 moments of joy since our founding. And just think like in many instances, those flowers would have just gone to waste, or would they go to a senior living community? We accept arrangements after like a celebration of life. So prior to Hope Blooms, a lot of those things were just going directly to like a senior living community in a funeral arrangement, and it's like that's probably one of the only times I can think of as flowers not being a source of joy, right? It's because John down the hall passed away, right? But we can take all those beautiful blooms out and repurpose them into this small but meaningful moment for someone, and being able to bring in our community and knock on someone's door and say, "We see you, we care about you, and how are you today?" Tell me a little bit about your family. We all just want to know that we matter and that we belong to something larger than ourselves. And that is the core principle behind our mission, right? To be able to generate those moments of joy, but more than that, be able to create these connections.
Lonely connection.
Yes, exactly.
Am I just like staring at you with heart eyes, like a little weirdo? You are a woman after my own heart. I mean, and I thought it was a mirror race. Like at first, exactly. We're so much alike. There's so much of what you said in there. We talk about connection a lot at 60 Days, surprise, surprise. And also in the craft method, which is what I gave my TEDx Spargo talk on, and is about these meaningful but simple acts of humanity, I call them, that we can do, and that they don't have to be big and expensive and daunting, but we can make them a part of our lives and touch people and create these ripple effects that I think really, really matter.
Absolutely.
So love it. So you've already kind of shared probably a lot of this, and so not to belabor the point, but what do you find to be the most rewarding part of your work at Hope Blooms?
Um, I There are, lots of different things in our mission that are rewarding, but I think just being able to just immerse yourself among so many caring people. We live in a very, very special community here in Fargo where I feel like we are all 6 degrees,
Yeah.
away from each other. And something that I have been profoundly grateful for and been just moved by is the connection that is created just within our walls at Hope Blooms, inviting our community in to take part in this activity of building these bouquets and creating these moments for our community. But just watching different groups connect and create these lifelong friendships. We become a spot for widows. We have become a home away from home for college students, a place for retirees to connect, a place for teams to really dive in and get to know one another. And just being amongst the flowers themselves is really good for your mental health. They say that people
Totally not surprised. But yeah.
they say that people who spend time around flowers are 3 times happier than people who don't.
I mean, like, look at you. You were like just sunshine walking in here, but they get it.
But they also reduce your blood pressure, reduce your anxiety, improve your cognitive performance and your creativity. So many good things just happen around the flowers and when people come together, right, for a bigger purpose. And I just think we live in such a beautiful and generous and caring community here in Fargo that I'm not sure that this could be exactly replicated anywhere else. And so that is something that I continue to be moved by. Because if it weren't for our community, we would simply not exist. And so, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably one of my favorite parts about our mission.
Yeah. I always say that Fargo was like one of the freakishly nicest places I'd ever been. Like everyone is so kind, so patient, really welcoming. When I say, "Oh, Fargo's like one of my favorite cities," people are like, "Fargo?" Like, and like, listen, it goes beyond just a television show, maybe a movie that you saw. Like, not exactly like that, but I haven't been guys the winter. I don't know if everything turns into that, but no, I like.
It's very cold. There's not really a lot of room for shenanigans like that, but I can only speak for, I guess, what I'm pretty yet.
So when you think about your work, is there like a common perception that you wish people really understood about what you do or why you do it the way you do it?
Absolutely. So, I talked about, the benefits of flowers, and of course, they're beautiful. And that draws a lot of people into our mission, which is definitely something that we are very grateful for. But our mission is so much more than flowers. And so it can certainly be easily dismissed as something that's cute or, oh, that's really nice, and not really understanding the depth of what we do. So we simply use the flowers as this way to engage a very large amount of community members in our mission, and we also use it as the reason for the visit. But the true magic in our mission is being able to create these moments of mattering, right? To be able to look someone in the eye and say, these were lovingly created for you because your community cares about you. And, like, I will never not get emotional about that because I think, first of all, who can't benefit from that, right? That message, but especially, if you are a senior who has, gone through all these life transitions, like, we live in a very largely rural state here in North Dakota, and so, I watched my own grandmother age away from her home, age away from her small town, her small rural town, and have to move to a bigger town, age away from her independence, right? And give up things like her beloved garden, right? And so being able to bring that piece of community in to a communal setting and have someone knock on your door and simply say, you matter. It's a disruptor in your day in a good way.
Yeah.
It also, the flowers themselves can really trigger different memories, right? So today I brought in these beautiful garden bouquets, and sometimes we'll knock on someone's door and they'll say, I grew those in my own garden. Right. And so being able to just use the flowers as a vessel to connect. And so that is a thing that I really hope people can understand about our mission is that this is our creative way and reason to have the visit. And of course, there's so much beauty, but more than that, it's these moments that we spend with people through our programs. So we have a Pedal It Forward program where we do that door-to-door delivery and people don't know we're coming, and we have a bouquet for everyone, and we bring in a team of volunteers and we go door to door and surprise people and ask them how their day is and just strike up a conversation, spend some time with them. But then we also have another program called Flower Empower, where we actually take the activity of building bouquets out to those we serve in a therapeutic activity. So we partner up with the individual and with a volunteer and have this one-on-one interaction. So we're going and serving, in our recovery homes, reentry programs. We're going into our mental health hospital and doing hands-on activities. And what it does is create this like beautiful sense of intimacy and just instant like connection. You just become really close with someone, like almost right away when you're, working together, building this beautiful bouquet. And it's an opportunity to then like ask someone, how's your day? Connect over if there is a memory that's triggered by flowers. Flowers are the keepers of memories, right? And so sometimes just looking at a bloom can really strike up something, recall something from your past. And so just creating these opportunities to just one-on-one get to know someone is really special and something that I hope everyone can understand about our mission.
Yeah, it's like a sneaky conduit. Well, no, you're like, here's flowers. Also, I'm here to check in on your mental health, right? And we were talking about this earlier this year. The World Happiness Report came out in March, I believe, and one of the facts that really jumped out was that 1 in 4 Americans ate every single meal alone. Every single meal alone for an entire year. 25% of the population.
Yeah.
Like,
And
that is so sad and startling, and you're right. These little moments of being I love that you have volunteers that are just knocking on doors, and you're giving them an opportunity to experience that connection in return, right? Because that's
yeah,
the other thing is that, you know, we often say that the giver is as much being blessed and receiving the benefits of service
absolutely.
as the one that we're looking to serve,
Yes.
right? And that's the gift of service.
Yes.
That it's almost like uh, there's a strong ROI,
Yeah.
right? That we don't always see, but it's definitely felt. Can you share like a memorable moment of impact? Like one story that sticks out to you, whether that you were a part of or one of your volunteers were a part of? There are, I'm sure there's
So
a let it.
there's so many, so I might try to sneak two in. But during absolutely. So during our one of our flower and power activities where we bring out all these buckets of flowers and we pair up with those that we serve. About half of who we serve are men. So, which a lot of times, you know, our society tells us flowers are for women, but they absolutely are not. And feeling like you matter is universal as well, right? And so we were at this senior living community, and this gentleman, Lawrence, he was in his doorway, not really sure if he was going to participate. We had the activity set up, and we're kind of a loud, jovial bunch when we come. And he would just, was kind of like surveying the area. And we're like, Lawrence, you got to come out. Like, you can't just be a looky loo. And he's like, yeah, but I don't need any flowers. And I'm like, I think you do. And so, yeah, so we convinced him to come out, and so he comes up to the table, and we're going through our tutorial about like how we're going to put the bouquets together and pairing everyone up. And pretty soon he takes out his phone, and I thought, we don't normally lose people this fast, Lawrence. And he's going through photos in his phone, and he lands on the last bouquet, a photo of the last bouquet he gave to his wife before she passed away. And he said, can we make this today? Right. So our volunteers did our very best to quite literally recreate that symbol of love. Right. But more than anything, in our very stoic and Nordic culture here, being able to just ask Lawrence, well, tell me about your wife, right? And he was able to recall these stories about her, and they were able to share these moments together, and then he was able to create this literal physical symbol of love that he has for his wife, right? And take that back to his room for a week or two, for as long as those blooms lasted. And what's so funny is we go back and we visit, and now Lawrence, like, he knows we're coming, he tells the front desk, you tell Hope Blooms I said hi. I had to go to an appointment, right? Yeah. But he looks forward to our visit, right? So we serve about 100 different, we're in partner with about 100 different organizations and communal living groups here in the Fargo-Moorhead, West Fargo area and beyond. And we serve everyone about 6 to 8 times a year. But, being able to have that, look forward to that visit, right? So we're getting to know these individuals now that we've been doing it for this long. And I just think, like, being able to look into his eyes and have him share about his wife, when was he going to do that, right? You're seeing a lot of the same people every day. Your routine is exactly the same. So being able to come in and just be that little bit of spark for conversation has just been really meaningful for not only our volunteers, like you had said, but also the recipient as well.
I like that it is repetitive, like that there is and not repetitive, and repetitive almost sounds like a negative connotation, but that you're having a cadence with people and that they can expect to see you. And it's not just one time, they may not ever see you again, especially if they're in some type of
Right.
longer term care facility. And that's really beautiful, because you do look forward to those visits, because some people are often not seeing anybody. So that
Right.
is really, really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, and just being able to, I had visited, I said I would maybe share one more, and I have to. So I was visiting our another senior living facility, and I ran across this beautiful woman, Mavis, and I, was talking to her, and I'm like, "We brought you flowers today." And she just started to cry and just said, "I've been really lonely." And I said, "Well, I am here for a visit. Can we go back to your room and can we visit? Would that be okay with you?" And so we did, and just sitting knee to knee, hands in hands, and just looking in each other's eyes, right? That physical touch, just that time for her, and just saying, "How did you know I love flowers?" And the hugs, and hearing about what she's got going on, and things like that, and just creating these special meaningful
Space.
touches. Yep.
It's about people feeling seen and valued.
Yeah.
And Hope Blooms is doing such an excellent job of that. Like, it's such a gift that one of our mutual friends guess shared you with us because I was joking, like every time I hear about an organization that is this special, I'm like, oh my gosh, like why is this not everywhere? And
Yeah.
my hope is that people can get involved and support you. So now is the time that I ask, how can people get involved and support the work that you're doing here at Hope Blooms?
Yes. Well, thank you. So, number one, I think, is just spreading the mission, right? We're 100% grassroots, started based in my home, and is totally grown organically by word of mouth. And so, having people just even share about our mission, think about us. If you're having a special event that would have flowers attached to it, donating those blooms. We also have people who do donate their flowers from their gardens who've now reserved space in their gardens for Hope Blooms every year here locally. But more than that, we're 100% community funded. And so without deliberate acts of generosity, our mission would not be possible. Every single gift matters. And we are so good at repurposing so many things and being very good stewards of our resources that that's an incredible way that people can, make a lasting impact by supporting our organization and knowing that all those efforts, every single bouquet that goes out, every single interaction we have left that person better
Mhm.
and feeling more joyful and feeling more connected to their community and hopefully in the process inspiring people to do something nice for someone, whether that's holding a door open for somebody or simply looking at someone in the eye and saying, hi, how are you today? We really hope that we can create that ripple effect, like you had mentioned. So
I love it. I love this time together. And we'll make sure that we put all of the information for how to contact you all, learn more in our episode description. Thank you for being here with me. It's been a pleasure. You're doing amazing work.
oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.